Hi everyone. This is Shagher Moheprodai. I'm a graduate student at Istanbul Aydın University's Political Science and International Relations. Today we will have a chance to talk about the book launch of Professor Ozan Örmeci on his newly published book, 2023 Turkish Elections in All Aspects. Hello, Doctor. Thank you for being with us. Happy New Year. First of all, how many books have you ever authored? And what is the significance of your new book?
Thank you, Shah. It's nice to be with you here tonight before the new year. And of course, it's like 23 or 24 books so far, but each of them is so special for me. And 17 of them are in Turkish language, so only 7 of them are in English. But among the English books, of course, like 3 of them are edited volumes. So in edited volumes, you have articles, chapters from many different scholars from Turkey or other countries. So it's not fully authored by me, but my PhD thesis, it's re-edition, a collection of articles published by an independent publisher. And this is like the 4th book in English language, fully written by me. That's why it's important because, for Turkish scholars, we have sometimes difficulties in reaching international public or making internationally accredited articles or books. So I work with Peter Lang from Europe. So I collaborated with them earlier also. It's a respected company and they provide good editorial services. And I'm quite happy of the result. I hope this will reach the audience and will be sold by many. And of course, this is the centennial of the Turkish Republic, the Republic of Turkey. So, and in that year, we had some special elections, as you know, in May, both parliamentary and presidential elections. And I wanted to emphasize, I wanted to leave a trace to the future generations about what happened in the elections with, of course, all the good sides, bad sides, problems, controversies, the position of the government, the position of the opposition, all other issues. But I just wanted to, of course, provide a kind of objective picture without taking sides by, analyzing objectively by using some political science theories and concepts. So I hope this will be a success, and I'm quite happy of the result, of course.
Doctor, the elections are over and President Erdogan actually won the elections. So if you want to look back on the election process, what are actually your observations about the turning points that led to President Erdogan's re-election?
Yes, thank you. That's a good question, Shah. And I think, of course, first of all, Shah, for those who doesn't know too much about Turkish political history, I should remind that since 1950, we have organized 20 democratic parliamentary elections in Turkey. 50, 54, 57, 61, it goes like this until the last one. And among these 20 elections, 16 of them were won by right-wing parties, either center-right conservative or kind of Islamist right parties, not nationalist right, but mostly Islamist or center-right parties. Only 4 of them were won by left-wing parties, 61, 73, 77 by CHP, and 99 by DSP. And in the last 3 of them, there was Bülent Ecevit, or there was also kind of Ecevit's success more than the left-wing party. So we have become, and we have always been, a right-wing dominated country. In politics, right-wing in most of the countries, but I'm looking at Europe, it's more stable. In Britain, Germany, France, generally right-left balance is better than Turkey. So in Turkey, there is right-wing domination. That's why it's not surprising. First of all, we have the force of political Islam, the culture of Islam, the Kulturkampf, what Germans call, culturally, the importance of Islamic values in the traditionally. Of course, they come back. With secularization reforms in the last century, starting from the late Ottoman period, then with acceleration of Mustafa Kemal, the great Turkish founder. Of course, we have become much more secularized nation, but the roots are still in the history, which are based on Islamic values, in addition to some imperial background, Ottoman Empire, etc. So it's not surprising for me that, first of all, thanks to the power of Islam, President Erdogan and conservatism has won it already in 80% of elections. Right-wing candidate or parties win in Turkey. So that's why it's not that shocking, first of all. Secondly, President Erdogan is an important leader. We should admit that he's a great leader. I mean, he's one of the greatest men in Turkish political history. Maybe we can compare it only to Atatürk. I mean, in terms of electoral success, there is no match for him. Only Atatürk, as the greatest founder of Turkey, maybe, is someone more influential than Erdogan. But comparing to other democratically elected leaders, of course, Erdogan's impact is much dense and widespread, and of course, time during. So Erdogan achieved some important issues in Turkey. As you know, in several years ago in Turkey, there was headscarf ban, and Islamist people had to send their daughters to foreign countries for having education. So it was not supported by majority of people in Turkey because generally people consider it as part of religious freedom. Putting headscarf or not, it's not. It's up to person. It's not up to state to decide on such matters whether it's a religious symbol or not. It could be a religious symbol, but I mean, who could interfere? Religion is a freedom. I mean, so that kind of French type of strict secularism didn't go very well in Turkey. It led to huge societal reactions, and Erdogan solved this problem. That's why I think he created this cult leadership in the eyes of peers masses. Plus, he also solved this Imam Hatip school graduates problems of entering into state jobs, state universities. In the past, there were some restrictions over their qualification for state universities or state jobs because the state was afraid of the Islamization of the legal structure, state structure, etc. These fears, anxieties could be, by the way, for real. I don't say that because, I mean, in the Islamic world, we have many problems, including women rights, secularism problems, or democratic deficiencies, etc. But I mean, they should somehow solve the societal reaction part of it as well. And Erdogan was the one who was able to solve it. That's why he created this cult leadership for right-wing politics. He had considerable support. He was able to mobilize the right wing. This was another thing. Thirdly, of course, Erdogan is a role model. I mean, so far in politics, we have only a role model as Atatürk, a secular statesman, nationalist, Turkish nationalist, great man, coming from military background. But Erdogan is a different figure. I mean, more religious, but still successful in politics, changing the country, redesigning the country. So he created another success story, different from Atatürk's story. I think that's important and helpful to Turkey because there'll be always peace people, Islamist people in Turkey. So we shouldn't limit ourselves to only one, two success stories. There could be different ways of life leading to success, like military career, political career, more religious career. These are all respected things. I mean, in Britain, in France, you could be a religious man, you could be a religious person, you could be even a priest. I mean, and you could have a great career. These are possible. So Erdogan is an Islamist who made it to the top, created this image, and in a sense, he symbolizes, from my perspective as a person who studied Turkish political history, peace between Turkey's past, Ottoman past, Islamic past, and modern Turkey. He symbolizes this. That's why I think this balance and transition period still continues, and Turkey will come to a more balanced situation after maybe Erdogan, because there was strict secularism period with military coups, the armed forces, kind of rebalancing acts. Then we had kind of more strict, maybe Islamist rule, and maybe the third phase of Turkey will be like the balance between secularism and Islam, kind of healthy democratic conservatism that will flourish in Turkey, I hope. So, of course, these are important. The opposition's mistakes, we can talk about, of course, clever strategy implemented by Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu, former previous CHP leader, but This strategy was to divide AK Party, of course, take some support, some dissidents from AK Party, like Ali Babacan, New Party, Ahmet Davutoğlu, and this worked, by the way, but with a limit, in a limited sense. And when Meral Akşener, the leader of the Good Party or İyi Party, a center-right, pro-secular and anti-AK Party, anti-Erdogan party, didn't, kind of endorse Kılıçdaroğlu's candidacy, there was this crisis called 3 March crisis. For 3 or 4 days, there was this crisis. So this gave probably a negative image to the voters, average voter. I mean, average voter might have thought that these people are not even able to choose their common candidates. So how they can rule a difficult country like Turkey? So, of course, Akşener, I don't think she did it on purpose. She wanted Ankara Mayor Mansur Yavaş or Istanbul Mayor Ekrem İmamoğlu, both from CHP party, to become the candidate instead of Kılıçdaroğlu. So she probably thought that they will have more chance against Erdogan, a strong leader like Erdogan. But Kılıçdaroğlu also insisted, and he was the leader of the biggest party, CHP, in the opposition. So that's why this conflictual situation for a few days, which was in the end resulted with Kılıçdaroğlu's official candidacy and Akşener's endorsement of Kılıçdaroğlu. But these 3-4 days of problems maybe changed the decision of many voters, because before this crisis, in the opinion polls, the opposition was doing much better. I think that was another reason. The third reason, which gave a real chance to opposition, that's why it was a big chance that was missed by the opposition to defeat Erdogan. This was the election. Was of course poor economic performance of the country in recent years. After the 2016, the failed coup d'etat, Turkish economy unfortunately didn't go very well. In recent 2-3 years, in fact, it was even worse due to devaluation of Turkish lira, hyperinflation in the last 2 years. I mean, we were talking to some people today. I mean, I remember during the presidency of Trump, when there was this Pastor Brunson crisis, the dollar was about 6-7 liras, and people were kind of anxious, dollar is 6-7 lira, you see how terrible it is. Then now it's 30 lira. So you see, in just one presidential change, Biden period, it went even much worse. So that's why I think the terrible economic performance of the country gave the opposition a real chance, and this was even triggered by the twin earthquakes that we had in 11 Anatolian cities in last February, which was a devastating disaster. I mean, 10,000s of people died. The economic losses of the country were, cannot calculate easily, but billions of dollars maybe. Of course, many of the countries in the world helped Turkey a lot. Turkish state is very strong, so it organized aid campaigns, etc. Turkish nation is very proud and strong nation. We organized, I also contributed with my budget. But this was a chance for the opposition to show that things are not very well planned. But maybe Erdogan is a great leader. I mean, he was able to even manage this disastrous situation as a great leader. I mean, that's what Americans say often. You can understand whether a president is great or not during the times of crisis. So Erdogan was good at communicating with ordinary people. He showed his, feeling of sorry. He tried to help people. In fact, when you check the electoral results, you can be shocked, but he got more support from the earthquake sites than before. So he increasing his party's votes and himself his votes in these cities, in most of them, not all of them, but in most of them, his votes are increased. So that shows that he skillfully managed this disaster process. Plus, the last thing that I should mention, of course, Erdogan's last-minute additions to his electoral bloc, because now he, of course, normally he has this electoral coalition with MHP and BBP, two Turkish nationalist parties. MHP is the bigger one, and BBP is the smaller one. But these are traditionally Turkish nationalist parties, and they are important. But this wasn't enough for Erdogan. So he saw this, and at the last minute, he included Yeniden Refah, New Welfare Party, his a new party established by the son of Necmettin Erbakan, Turkey's first Islamist prime minister, Fatih Erbakan. And this party brought Erdogan a vote around 3%, which was, a lifesaver. I mean, without this 3%, Erdogan couldn't have managed to win the election, either in the first or second round. So this was important. Plus, Hüdapar, a very radical pro-Kurdish and Islamist party, this also provided Erdogan a few extra thousand votes in the southeastern Anatolia, where some Kurdish Islamic groups reside. And of course, this was also important. Many people thought that this might lead to loss of some votes in big cities. This didn't happen. Hüdapar plus Ecevit's party, Democratic Left Party, that was interesting. DSP. They were of course, DSP now is not a big party, but again, symbolically, DSP is taking part in AK Party and Erdogan's coalition bloc. I think this was a very clever strategy implemented by Erdogan at the last minute. I mean, if with all these same things, without making these additions, especially new welfare, because the party has, in terms of membership size, it's the 5th biggest party in Turkey right now, or 4th or 5th, according to official statistics. So the party is new, but it has a lot of members and it's growing. So New Welfare Party, that's why, especially New Welfare Party, plus Hüdapar and DSP, it helped Erdogan. So for all these reasons, his charisma, control over right-wing bloc, because of his cult leadership for solving these Islamic problems, the opposition's failures, that's why Erdogan, and these last-minute additions, Erdogan was able to win an almost, impossible election due to heavy economic problems and burdens of the country.
Professor, you kind of talked mostly about inside Turkey. Let's actually go a little bit further, and then can you kind of talk to me about the consequences that these elections might have outside of Turkey?
Yeah, sure. I think there will be some consequences, and one of them, of course, before the election, almost all Western countries, although they tried to stay neutral, they supported the opposition because of fears that Turkey will become a more authoritarian state where rule of law will not be implemented anymore. And of course, I don't claim that they were wrong or right, but there were such fears. President Biden, before becoming president, openly stated to New York Times journalists, editors, that they should support the opposition in Turkey because Erdogan is becoming like more authoritarian leader. European Union openly criticized Erdogan for not implementing, some legal decisions about the imprisonment of Osman Kavala, Selahattin Demirtas, the opposition leader, etc. And whereas Russia, kind of delayed Turkey's debts based on natural gas imports from Moscow, just to help Erdogan. China, again, didn't take an open side, but probably they stayed closer to Erdogan. It was like a battleground between West and non-West. And eventually, since the Erdogan won it and survived, it might lead to a kind of rupture in Turkish foreign policy. I don't think this will materialize in short time. So Turkey will continue to be a member of NATO and part of Western Bloc, but the dose of third worldism, kind of an search for a more independent, regional-based foreign policy, independent-minded foreign policy might increase. And we have seen, even in the early months, some trailers of it, some scenes of it in advance. So what we have seen, for instance, Erdogan has recently begun to constantly repeat his slogan, popular slogan, "The world is bigger than five," to criticize the UN Security Council structure. So we have United States, United Kingdom, France, Russia, and China as 5 permanent members. All are friendly countries for Turkish nation. But on the other hand, of course, we see that none of these states has the capacity to represent Muslims. And Muslim world has a lot of problems, like we see now in Gaza. Unfortunately, there is a genocide going on, and no one does anything about it. Children, women, babies are dying. Of course, we like Jewish people. We are not enemy to the Israeli state. We don't have any prejudices against the state of Israel. We recognize Israel as Turkish state. But on the other hand, we want children to continue to live, women to continue to live. Churches and mosques are protected from bombs, whether dropped by Hamas or Israel army. It doesn't matter. So it's like protecting, we are aiming to protect freedoms. And unfortunately, none of the UN Security Council permanent members, are able to do this. That's why I think President Erdogan's this third world approach is growing, and it will be even further accelerated in the coming years. Of course, Turkey's conflictual relations with the West might continue. I think Swedish accession to NATO will materialize soon, so Turkey will not block it. But on the other hand, Turkey will keep its relations with Russia, improve its relations with China, will invest more in the Islamic world, will invest more in the Turkic world. Now there is this organization of Turkic states, which is growing rapidly, and both nationalist, Islamist, and seculars are supporting this. So this will be a real important game changer if this could turn into a real kind of European Union kind of organization. Plus, Russia and China has become Turkey's top trading partners. Before it was Germany, France, US, Britain, and Italy. Now, could you imagine two top trading partners of Turkey, Russia and China? And Turkey is a net importer in these economic interactions with these two countries. So we import a lot, but we couldn't export too much. So it's not helping Turkey, but they have become the biggest partners of Turkey. So in terms of domestic politics, if Erdogan, of course, consolidates his power in the approaching local elections, the dose of democracy might be reduced, or let's say different kind of democratic system might be implemented, more suitable to the Turkish Islamic context, let me call it, because there is a democratic backsliding or regression in the whole world. It's not only up to Turkey. So this is not only a symptom that Turkey has, but of course, Turkey, with its almost all Muslim population, has some peculiarities compared to European democracies, and presidential system, more authoritarian leaning, hyper-presidentialism, some call it other terms. But this might be, this might turn into a more institutionalized system for future generations. These might be potential consequences that comes to my mind at the first instance.
Perfect. Professor, you kind of talked about the local elections in March 2024. What are your expectations from these local elections, and do you think AK Party could win in Istanbul, Ankara, and Izmir, the three biggest cities in the country, and what are the consequences there?
Yes, I mean, AK Party, obviously with President Erdogan in charge, plus now controlling all state departments, has great chance in winning in all cities. But in Izmir is one of my hometowns. So my father is from Sparta, so I consider both Sparta and Izmir as my hometown. So I was born and raised in Izmir, so I know the city. It's more traditionally secular and Republican Kemalist city. So in Izmir, it's not easy for AK Party to win. I mean, they should have found some very bright candidate, which doesn't seem possible at the moment. So in Izmir, I think they don't have a real chance. But in Ankara and Istanbul, of course, they could have a chance, because traditionally already our party has 40% support. So they just need to increase their votes by maybe a few 8-7% more. But the opposition is very strong in these two big cities, two metropolitan cities. Ankara is the capital, and CHP is Mansur Yavaş. He's not a traditional CHP politician. He comes from MHP background. He's a Turkish nationalist, very much supported by Turkish nationalists, center-right, even Islamists, and he's a very hardworking politician. I mean, he created a miracle in Beypazarı before. Then he became, after some years, the mayor of Ankara, and he did very good jobs at Ankara as well. So Yavaş has great chance. Probably he won't have the Kurdish support, Kurdish votes, pro-Kurdish votes, but in Ankara, I don't know how significant pro-Kurdish votes are. In Istanbul, it's more important for Erdogan because Erdogan was the mayor of Istanbul before becoming prime minister and president. So he cares more about Istanbul than Ankara. But CHP again has a very strong candidate in Istanbul, Ekrem İmamoğlu, a bright politician coming from more center-right tradition, but now appealing to center-left as well as a social democratic person. And İmamoğlu has conducted a very clever PR strategy. When he was elected in 2019, first time, the election was cancelled. So his lead was around 14,000. Then there was the second election. This time he won it by almost 1 million margin. So he had a landslide victory against former Prime Minister Binali Yıldırım. He was a great man, Binali Yıldırım, but İmamoğlu became like a hero, like the second Erdogan from the left. That's why I think İmamoğlu is still very strong and popular. Plus, he works a lot. I see him around in Istanbul, different districts of Istanbul each year. I meet with him one time. So he walks a lot, but he's in the people and he tries to do some good things. And Istanbul municipality has a budget larger than many countries. So I think he might have real chance to win the election.
One last
In other
question,
cities,
Professor.
of course, AK Party might lead in other cities.
Okay, beautiful. My last question for you is that what are the issues that will be more important in Turkish politics in the upcoming months and years?
Yeah, yes. I mean, the first thing that I didn't mention it specifically in the book, Shah, but because I'm not a geologist, but I read and listen to internationally accredited geologists in Turkey, such as Celal Şengör, Naci Görür, etc. And they always underline that there might be a seriously big earthquake in Istanbul in next 20 years, 20, 25 years maximum period. So the science tells us. That's why we have to take it into consideration with the utmost attention. And of course, if there will be a big earthquake which will lead to some serious problems and destruction, this might terribly affect Turkey because Istanbul is not just the biggest city, but Istanbul is half of Turkey with Kocaeli and Bursa around. Istanbul is where half of industrial production of Turkey is made. 1/4 of population, 20 million, reside, where tourism business mostly, operates, and many other international companies operates. So Istanbul is like half of Turkey, and if something terrible happens to Istanbul, it will seriously weaken Turkey in terms of economy, politics, and military. That's why I think it's really important. I hope this won't turn into a big nightmare scenario like in the February earthquake. Plus, the one good thing is that most of the new buildings in Istanbul are made after the 1999 Gölcük earthquake. So according to new and very strict regulations. So I think and I hope that new buildings will survive. So, and factories also. So in old buildings, there might be some problems, but I think Turkey can recover. And of course, it won't if it won't be something big. Secondly, of course, economic problems. Turkey has serious economic problems. It will continue. Even the finance minister, Mehmet Şimşek, who is a very good pick, by the way, very good choice by Erdogan, who has worked in London for long years in the financial markets, who is an internationally trusted economic figure. But even Mehmet Şimşek admits that we will continue to have economic problems at least for another year. So economic problems will continue to reduce the power of Erdogan. Of course, Western countries, primarily the US and the EU, will try to limit Erdogan's wishes, both political and geopolitical, in the East Med, etc., by using economic cards. Will try to limit curb Turkey's economic and political relations with Russia and China. So economic problems will be there. Anti-immigration could become an important issue because now there is another new party, Zafer Partisi, Victory Party in Turkey, led by Professor of Political Science Ümit Özdağ. He's a very charismatic figure coming from MHP tradition. I know I met him several times in the past years. So Özdağ is a great speaker as well. So, and his party, according to recent polls, is now taking around 6-7%. Plus, if Trump is re-elected in the coming elections in the US, there might be a support coming from the US as well. So Özdağ's party could grow seriously, could come to 20-something% of votes, and anti-immigration rhetoric and policies could be very popular in the country. The Kurdish question will be there because now we have like 50 million Kurds in 4 countries: Iraq, Iran, Turkey, Syria. In Syria, they are mostly led by PKK, offshot terrorist organization groups, which Turkey is fighting against. In Iraq, there's a Barzani-led regional government. It's legal. They have autonomy. In Iran, it's different. In Turkey, they are equal citizens, principal citizens, equal with Turks, but they don't have special autonomy or additional cultural rights. So Kurdish question, now we have a new pro-Kurdish party, DEM party, before it was HDP, before other names, BDP, DEP, HDP. So these pro-Kurdish parties, somehow they are closed on the constitutional court, they are subjected to political pressures, but they continue to survive because there is this support coming from Kurdish people, not all Kurdish people, but let's say half of them support pro-Kurdish parties, the other half of Kurds support more Islamist parties. So that's why Kurdish question will be always there. In fact, AK Party was very courageous and reformist on that issue. In the past, they made a lot of openings for Kurdish rights. They invested in relations with KRG government in northern Iraq, Barzani government. The current foreign minister Hakan Fidan, when he was the head of Turkish intelligence MİT, he conducted peace talks with PKK, the terrorist organization, to solve the problem, of course, not to help PKK. It failed. Now, if there is chance to recover the talks, could it be possible? I don't think so, because now AK Party is more supported by nationalist parties, MHP mostly. So MHP and its leader Devlet Bahçeli will be certainly against another peace talk with PKK or any kind of Kurdish opening. That's why AK Party will be more hawkish and nationalist, I think, with this new conjuncture. And of course, foreign policy, I mean, in all issues, Islamic world, Turkic world, EU, US, Russia, China, Turkey will continue to become a global actor. And of course, the rise of identity politics. In the book, I try to explain this from the perspective of Samuel Huntington. So how the rise of Erdogan and Turkey's transformation into a more Islamist and traditional regional power by drifting away from being a classical Western NATO country. I try to explain this academically and theoretically. I think this will continue because the election results suggest this. But we have the other half of Turkey, which is very pro-Western, pro-secular. So that will continue to create a kind of mixed picture for the overall. And this is good. I think this is very healthy and good because, I mean, it's a heterogeneous country. I mean, we are not, we might be Muslims all, but different versions of Muslims exist. We have different ethnicities. We have a lot of foreigners, international people, immigrants. It's an immigrant-friendly country as well. So that's why I think this will keep Turkey within the democracy league, this kind of balanced picture. Opposition controlling maybe municipalities, but Erdogan strong centrally. So this will give us a different democratic balance and check balance mechanism. That's why I consider this very healthy. Of course, what will happen after Erdogan, post-Erdogan discussion, because normally this is his last term. Normally he served for, this is his second time as president, so his tenure in office will end normally in 2028. But of course, I'm not sure if he will be following Putin's path, Vladimir Putin's path, try to stay in power for another term or more terms. I'm not sure about this. Probably he will try to design and choose his successor, and his son-in-law Selçuk Bayraktar, Hakan Fidan, Fatih Erbakan, although he's from a different party, he has, I think, a great chance. And maybe Ahmet Davutoğlu also, now he's forgotten. But they might be replacer of Erdogan after him.
Okay. Any last words? Do you
Thank
have
you.
any more comments?
Thank you, Shah, for having me today. I hope this will help people who are interested in Turkish politics.
Thank you so much for your time and good luck with your new book.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.